Welcome back to Center Stage. All right, guys. So this week, I decided that we're going to go bad. We are moonwalking back in time. We are stepping into the rehearsal room with the undisputed king of pop. Now, from the genius choreography to the jaw-dropping voice and the high-stakes pressure of the 1992 Dangerous tour, we're going to dig into the most electrifying show on Broadway and the West End. Get ready for MJ the Musical. Now, MJ the Musical is a jukebox musical with a book by two-time Pulitzer Prize winner Lynn Nottage, and based on the life of the American entertainer himself, Mr. Michael Jackson. The musical focuses on his creative process prior to his 1992 Dangerous World Tour. Now, the musical was first announced in June of 2018 with full financial backing from the Michael Jackson estate. Choreographer Christopher Wheeldon spoke about the musical, stating that the show is very much anchored in one particular moment in time. I always bring up the fabulous movie that Spielberg made about Lincoln. You take one key moment, I suppose, in the history of someone's life, and then sort of use that as an anchor point for past storytelling and, just perhaps, some kind of prophecy of what's to come. We'll be doing that with this story. Asked about the dance and choreography, he said he intends to put quite a lot of Michael's work into the show. And I can tell you, indeed, he did. The creative process for bringing MJ the Musical to the stage was a complex, multi-year endeavor focused on translating Michael Jackson's unique artistry and intense creative drive into a Broadway theatrical event. Now, the show is fundamentally structured as a show within a show, centered around the high-stakes rehearsals for his 1992 Dangerous World Tour. Now, this framing device allows the narrative to use flashbacks, which are triggered by a fictional MTV interviewer, to explore pivotal moments from Jackson's life, from his childhood with Jackson 5 to his solo superstardom. Now, with the help of a two-time Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, Nottage chose to focus the narrative on Jackson's creative process and the internal pressure he faced. The rehearsal setting provides a vehicle to explore his perfectionism, his relationship with his father, Joseph Jackson, and the influences that shaped his future work. Now, with the help of a Tony Award-winning director and choreographer known primarily for his work in ballet, Wheeldon's vision was to go beyond a simple imitation of music videos. He aimed to capture the essence and innovation of Jackson's movement, the fusion of pop, jazz, and hip-hop, while integrating it into a cohesive theatrical language. To ensure authenticity, Wheeldon worked with Rich and Tone Telega, two brothers who had previously danced with Jackson on tour, to consult on and refine the Michael Jackson movement within the show. Now, the show predominantly uses music from the peak of his career, using Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad, and Dangerous, aligning with the 1992 setting. Now, some iconic songs are performed in their entirety as full-scale production numbers, while other songs, or snippets, are woven into the dialogue and emotional flashbacks to sort of illustrate a key moment in his life, serving as the main narrative of the play. Now, the show's spectacle relies heavily on a highly collaborative design team to bring concert-level magic to the stage. Derek McLean had to create a set that needed to rapidly and seamlessly transition between the gritty reality of a rehearsal studio, the colorful spectacle of a concert, and the abstract world of Michael's memories. Lighting designer Natasha Katz used dramatic and colorful lighting to recreate the electrifying atmosphere and energy of Jackson's world-famous live concert performances. The show's projection designer, Peter Negrini, incorporated video projections to quote elements from Jackson's groundbreaking short films like Smooth Criminal and Thriller to provide visual context for his artistic influences. Now, the costume designer Paul Tazewell then created the elaborate, distinctive costumes that reflect the different eras and personas of Michael Jackson's career. Now, the journey to the stage involved years of development, which is typical for large-scale musicals. The idea for this musical was born from a desire to tell Michael's story and celebrate his music on stage. Now, the initial conception of the musical was a collaboration between producer Leah Volek and Michael Jackson Estate, co-managed by John Branca and John McClane. And it was rooted in two primary goals. One, the producer's goal was explicitly not to create a standard cradle-to-grave biographical musical. Instead, the core vision was to dive deep into Michael Jackson's creative genius, his unparalleled drive for perfection, and the work ethic that made him the king of pop. This idea would essentially reveal the man behind the enigma, providing a rare glimpse into the world of Michael, his insecurities, his motivations, and the influences that shaped his creative decisions. Now, the creative team decided the best way to achieve this was to basically set the show during a specific high-pressure moment: the rehearsals for the 1992 Dangerous World Tour. This conceit allowed the audience to witness Jackson's meticulous process in a rehearsal studio environment. And that brings us to 2. Director and choreographer Christopher Wheeldon likened the approach to Steven Spielberg's Lincoln, where a single pivotal moment in time is used as an anchor to explore a vast history. The set, designed by Derek McClane, is a sprawling industrial rehearsal room which serves as the show's reality. The high tension of the rehearsal, particularly Michael's insistence on adding ambitious, costly, and technically difficult elements to the tour, triggers his memories. Now, these moments serve as a seamless transition from the rehearsal room into the dynamic, full-scale production numbers that visualize his past. Now, the fictionalized MTV interview created a narrative mechanism for the flashbacks and allowed for an exploration of his life, giving Michael a reason to speak about his past childhood, his creative process, and the real-world struggles he faced. Now, critical workshops and rehearsals were used to refine Noddige's script, integrate Wheeldon's choreography, and ensure the massive technical elements could be executed live. The workshops for MJ the Musical were crucial in shaping the show, especially since the team aimed for a theatrical spectacle while maintaining a character-driven narrative. Now, the workshops were intensely focused on solving the central artistic challenge: how do we stage Michael Jackson's iconic moves for the Broadway stage without merely copying his music videos? Well, rich in tone, Talega's role was to work with the lead actors, particularly the various MJs, on the foundation of Jackson's style: his specific iconic walks, the weight distribution, the groundedness, the power and the attack of his moves, and the precision of his body isolation. Now, Wheeldon's intention was to never create a Michael Jackson concert, but to create a dance fantasy of Michael and his work. The workshops allowed him to integrate his own vocabulary with the icon's original moves to serve the plot. For example, he stated that the only extended piece of original Jackson choreography kept intact was, in fact, Billie Jean. Now, playwright Lynn Nottage used the workshops to fine-tune the seamless transition between the present-day rehearsal and Michael's memory sequences. The set design, an industrial dance studio, was developed in workshops to ensure that the scenic elements could move fluidly, allowing Michael's flashbacks to become instantaneous, visually stunning stage pictures. The scenic design is primarily about transitions, moving audiences from the stark reality of 1992 into both his imaginative and his painful past. The show's massive technical ambition required extensive workshop testing for the sound, lighting, and projections. Led by Gareth Owen, the workshops ensured the sound system could move seamlessly from the intimate book scenes to the stadium-sized sound of a full-scale concert. They used advanced DMB soundscape technology to emulate the acoustic of small clubs or huge arenas to match the flashback settings. Natasha Katz worked closely with Wheeldon storyboards to map out the dramatic spotlights and dynamic effects required to emulate the electrifying atmosphere of a live Jackson performance. The lighting had to emphasize the difference between the harsh light of the rehearsal studio and the spectacle of a concert memory. Workshops tested the automation of the huge pivoting walls of the rehearsal studio set, which Derek McLean called the engine of the set. Projection designer Peter Negrini also tested how to use film and historical imagery to visualize Jackson's memories and dive straight in to Michael's head. Now, finding the right actor to embody Michael Jackson across multiple ages, capturing his singing, dancing, and the complexity of his persona was a task of immense importance. The team not only needed a performer who was not just a triple threat, but one who could convincingly capture the charisma, precision, and vulnerability of one of the most famous men in history. The producers and the creative team launched an exhausting search for a performer who could handle the immense demands of the role. The actor needed to master Michael Jackson's unique and physically demanding movement style, which requires incredible precision and stamina to perform 6 to 8 times a week. The role also requires a strong pop rock tenor with a falsetto to cover Jackson's expansive catalog, from the early Jackson 5 hits to his solo career. And, beyond the spectacle, the actor needed to convey the complex, immensely flawed, and sometimes childlike personality of Jackson as he grapples with his past and the pressures of fame. Well, the first actor cast in the title role of Michael Jackson was Ephraim Sykes, a Tony-nominated Broadway veteran known for his work in shows like Hamilton and Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations. His experience suggested the production was looking for a seasoned professional with strong theatrical chops. After his departure, though, in 2021 for a new film commitment, the search was broadened to include non-traditional actors, and this led to the discovery of Miles Frost. Now, Frost was an audio engineering major and was discovered by the production team through a viral YouTube video of him performing Billie Jean at a high school talent show. Now, Frost displayed a natural mastery of Jackson's vocal and dance styles, but what set him apart was his ability to capture the star's essence and persona, the complex layers of his personality, and the childlike energy, according to director Christopher Wheeldon. Wheeldon said of Frost, all of his talents point towards a new rising star. Well, Frost was cast in June of 2021 and made his Broadway debut later that year. He went on to win the 2022 Tony Award for Best Actor in a Musical, becoming the youngest solo recipient of the award in that category, proving that the casting team's extensive search finally paid off. Well, backing up to 2019, the team was ready for an out-of-town tryout at Chicago's Nederlander Theater. Unfortunately, the Michael Jackson estate canceled the Chicago tryout due to scheduling difficulties, brought about by an Actors Equity Association strike. Now, this unplanned pause, followed by the COVID-19 pandemic, forced the creative team to rely solely on the workshop material for further refinement, which meant that the show was effectively frozen and refined heavily in private before facing a paying audience, which, I will tell you now, is an unusual path for a major Broadway musical. Well, after keeping the faith, the eventual electrifying thriller of a musical opened at Broadway's Neil Simon Theater, taking audiences on a thrill ride of a musical memories where it continues to play today. The Broadway opening of MJ the Musical was a significant event that sparked a complex public conversation and demonstrated several key trends for modern theater. Audiences overwhelmingly responded to the show's sheer entertainment value. The production was lauded for its electrifying choreography, stunning technical design, and the mesmerizing performance of Miles Frost. For many fans, the musical was a joyful, nostalgic, high-energy celebration of Michael Jackson's musical genius and artistry. The main conflict, however, for critics centered on the narrative. The book, by two-time Pulitzer Prize winner Lynn Nottage, is set during a rehearsal for the 1992 Dangerous World Tour. This framing device allows the show to use flashbacks to explore Jackson's demanding childhood and creative process. Well, critics accuse the production, which was created in special arrangement with the estate of Michael Jackson, of being a piece of propaganda that sanitizes a complex, deeply stained legacy. However, for a loyal fan base, the musical offered a narrative that focuses on Jackson as a creative victim of his father and the relentless press, giving them permission to celebrate the art without confronting the allegations. The success proved that a significant portion of the audience is willing to separate the man from the music to enjoy the art form. Well, MJ the Musical is a prime example of the modern jukebox biomusical, and its success has significant implications for the genre. The show raised the bar for technical demands. Winning Tonys for Best Lighting Design and Best Sound Design confirmed that the quality of the spectacle, the light show, sound mixing, and seamless use of projections, is now a mandatory element for a major biomusical about a global pop star. It set a new benchmark for a live music video feel. The show reinforced the commercial model where an artist's estate controls the narrative to protect the brand. Future biomusicals involving deceased or controversial stars whose estates are involved will likely follow this new template, focusing on a sympathetic, controlled portrayal of the artist's life and his challenges. The show demonstrated that massive commercial success can be achieved despite a conflicted critical reception. The strong audience's demand for the music and dance suggests that for certain pop icons, critics' ethical or narrative concerns may not deter the ticket-buying public, strengthening the position of highly entertaining, nostalgia-driven musicals. Well, folks, by March of 2024, West End audiences were ready to welcome the King of Pop to London's Prince Edward Theatre, and is sadly set to close on February 28th of next year after running for less than 2 years. Now, the transfer of MJ the Musical to the West End in London was a major transatlantic event, solidifying its status as a global commercial hit and further proving the model of the spectacle-driven bio-jukebox musical. Now, a major draw for the London run was the return of Miles Frost. His decision to open the West End production ensured the show maintained the authenticity and high-caliber dance required for the role. The narrative structure in London remains the same as Broadway, with some reviews noting that the show was an unbeatable entertainment, yet a sterilized moonwalk through the King of Pop's life. Now, the West End run is not the end of the show's journey. Oh no, the closure date in early 2026 is necessary to facilitate a wider global expansion. The show is not only scheduled to embark on a UK tour starting in 2027, but the production also has launched in other major international markets, including Germany and Australia, as well as an upcoming Asian tour, which will launch in October of next year for an initial 2-year run, further demonstrating the show's immense global commercial appeal and the market's demand for a celebration of Michael Jackson's musical legacy. Now, this leads to the February 2025 transfer of the show to Sydney's Lyric Theatre, where the casting was a major focus, bringing together both Australian and international talent. Now, the team chose Roman Banks to embody Michael, and Roman is known for being the first African-American actor to play the title role in Broadway's Dear Evan Hansen. Reviews in Australia mirrored the reception in New York and London, largely celebrating the spectacle while noting the selective storytelling. Critics uniformly praised the production's technical elements, including the set design, lighting, and especially Christopher Wheeldon's dazzling and precise choreography. The show itself was celebrated as an electrifying tribute to Jackson's music, with cast and live band bringing over 40 different songs to sparkling life. Reviewers highlighted that the show actively positioned the media as the villain, sidestepping the most complicated aspects of Jackson's legacy while still being a riveting tribute and an unbeatable entertainment. Now, following its successful run in Sydney, the production did move on to Her Majesty's Theatre in Melbourne in September of last year, where it continues to play today. The legacy of Michael Jackson the musical is defined by two key contradictory aspects: its massive commercial and artistic success as a theatrical spectacle, and its selective estate-sanctioned narrative. The musical's lasting legacy is not just a financial hit, but as a groundbreaking achievement in the jukebox musical genre, particularly in its choreography. The most undeniable legacy of the show is its effectiveness in celebrating the artistry of the King of Pop. It successfully translates the scale, precision, and energy of a Michael Jackson concert into a live theater event. For young audiences, the show is an exhilarating introduction to the music and iconic dance moves of the King of Pop, ensuring his catalog continues to thrive and connect across generations. The show's use of dance, blending classical ballet, modern dance, and his signature pop hip-hop moves, is widely considered some of the best on Broadway, setting a brand new bar for how pop music can be used to tell a story on the stage. Now, the success of the show has created a moral dilemma for audiences and critics. Is it acceptable to celebrate the art while financially supporting a production that avoids the most serious allegations against the artist? Well, this struggle to reconcile the art with the man is a lasting, complex legacy the musical forces audiences to confront each and every day. The consensus among fans, critics, and those involved in the production is that Michael Jackson would very likely be thrilled with the musical's execution and message. Jackson, as we know, was a meticulous perfectionist who prized his music and his dance. The show's world-class Tony and Olivier Award-winning choreography, incredible vocal performances, and high production value perfectly honor this pursuit of excellence. As a showman, he would appreciate the spectacle and the roaring standing ovations. The musical itself heavily focuses on his childhood trauma at the hands of his father, Joe Jackson, and the persecution he felt from the media, narratives that Michael Jackson himself repeatedly emphasized during his lifetime. The show frames him as a dedicated, driven artist and a victim, which aligns perfectly with the narrative he and his estate have consistently put forward. As the show is sanctioned by his estate, it provides a controlled, highly positive view of his life. Jackson would appreciate this control over his public narrative, which effectively sidelines the legal and moral controversies that plagued his later life. In essence, guys, MJ the Musical is the ultimate high-quality, estate-approved homage to the King of Pop as he would have wanted the world to remember him. A singular, wounded genius whose art was his truth. And folks, this brings us to the end of our look behind the curtain of MJ the Musical. Now, it's clear the production lives and dies by the power of Michael Jackson's incredible catalog and the sheer talent of its performers. While it intentionally sidesteps the darkest controversies, the show itself succeeds as a triumphant celebration of the creative process and the spectacular artistry of one of the greatest entertainers who ever lived. If you love this episode, please do us a favor, hit that subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. It truly is the best way to help other theater lovers find this very channel. Until next time, guys, keep your focus on the man in the mirror. Help make a difference in someone's life and help the world to make that change.